Hello everyone, welcome back to a place we practically call home on good old Gelvin Valley. Wonderful map made for Farming Simulator 15 by Wild Wes. I am really enjoying this mod, and I wish back in the day when I played the game even more regularly. I know it seems like I maybe play it regularly now, but I really don't play it that much at all, just for episodes. But I wish I had, downloaded this mod a long time ago. I'm just more and more impressed with it. It's a very high quality mod. Just a clean log, and I can't find a single thing wrong with it yet. Just hop in cab. It's just an amazing effect to have the noise disappear while you're in the cab. It obviously has its own unique sound. Just an outstanding mod, and I wish I knew off the top of my head who had created it. Maybe someone will mention in the comments. I can probably look it up and try to share that next time. Really enjoying it though as we continue taking care of the straw. That is residue from harvest. Let's see if I can make the turn. Continue on the way. So we're almost done with our largest field, field number 18. And I don't know if anybody can tell just looking at it. Maybe if I put the map up. You can see the location of every single bale that we have in field number 18. So there's going to be a lot of work getting all those picked up, but not as much ultimately as one would think. Frankly, I wish there was 10 times as many bales so I could make more money. But I'm going to have to just be thankful for whatever I can get. But this is the largest field, probably will be nearly half of the total number of bales that I actually pick up from our barley harvest. And speaking of barley harvest, and really any product that is sold in Farming Simulator, at least for Farming Simulator 15, I really don't know how it worked in previous versions. I'd have to look it up. I know I've commented in here before how the pricing model works, and I kind of had a loose understanding of it, and I studied the code more here this evening prior to this episode and learned as much about it as I can. And really, I think I forever put to bed in my mind that it doesn't matter how much you have in storage. So for example, if we come in here real quick and we see we have this much barley, the fact that we have all of this sitting in inventory has absolutely no bearing on what the price is going to be. What does have a bearing is how much of it has been sold. And it has, I don't even know if I can describe it in words. It's just really interesting reading the code, I guess you would call them algorithms, as to how they run the pricing. And I know I've talked a little in here about creating a mod that would kind of show the prices, if you will. And I don't know, I'm kind of almost rethinking that and wondering if it'll even be worth it, when really the things that drive prices are some of the underlying, how much of it have you sold, and therefore how much of the market is been flooded by what you've put into it. And really, in farming in real life, farmers are called price takers as a general rule, especially if you're farming the basic commodities, such as corn, wheat, soybeans, those kinds of things. In other words, a farmer could sell, 100,000 acres of it, or none, and the price, the worldwide price, really wouldn't change all that much. In the way the free market works, everything is going to have an impact. It's just some impacts are so minute you can't even detect that they're even there. And that's kind of how farms are, unless a farmer's making his own market, with value added products or those kinds of things, or some kind of a specialty crop, they are generally going to be price takers. The market is what it is, and they can't change it no matter how much they sell into it. Well, not so with Farming Simulator 15. The farmer has a huge impact on the market, and I see now it's a mistake to continually plant these fields with the same commodity year over year. And you may need to give it even more than a couple of years. I say years, meaning seasons of growing or whatever, for the price to cool off. Whoops, didn't mean to hit that fence. I'm kind of accumulating a bunch of damage. And maybe some of you have noticed we've been operating kind of on a fast growth cycle in here. So it doesn't take long, and we have another crop ready to harvest, ready to go, and that hasn't helped our pricing. Really the double-edged sword of having more crop to harvest soon is that it floods the market, especially if you do year over year of a particular crop. Now, the interesting thing that I discovered too is that if you, the prices of every other commodity are also impacted. Here, for example, this particular year, we have focused heavily on barley. And what it means is every single other commodity for which there's, economic pricing in the game is going to be positively affected, while ours is negatively affected. So some of the fields, that I harvested where I didn't just put it in the bin, but I chose to take it to market, because I was kind of desperate for cash. Well, that kind of started the flooding of the market. And when I say flooding the market, it really doesn't take all that much. But the answer always depends. The more commodities that there are, the price will be depressed on the individual commodity, but the positive impact will be spread more broadly. If you only have a handful of commodities in a map or crops that you can sell, when one of the crops gets penalized because the market's flooded, you see a huge impact in all the others. And the impact just isn't as huge, when it's just, or when there's so many commodities, that we have in this map. So it's just been really interesting to kind of read into it and see. And if the size of the entire world was only what we have here in good old Gelvin Valley, well then yeah, we're growing all this grain, and of course it's going to flood whatever market that we have. So, and maybe that's kind of how the game makers looked at it, or maybe just to add a little bit more challenge to the game and to get you to think a little about marketing. And getting my rear end kicked so many times in here, it's no secret I've had difficulties, earning money and trying to keep afloat. And I'm going to try to make some better choices maybe in the crops, that I plant. And I suppose that's, what would be the strategy? How could you get all the other crops to have, to be boosted? And I don't know that you can. I mean, really, in order to boost it, you have to flood the market, heavily flood the market with a handful or a single commodity. And so you're going to go through a whole lot of pain just to boost the prices, of those other commodities. And it isn't permanent. They aren't going to stay boosted forever. Every hour on the hour is when prices change in here, and it's constantly moving. Once you build up a glut on the market, there's a small bit of the glut that disappears every single hour. And I'm not sure that it ever goes away, by the way. It goes down by a percentage. Well, and the percentage is based on a distance between, the total buildup of the glut and some fixed amount for all commodities. Well, as you approach the fixed amount, you keep taking 1% of that, and it gets a smaller and smaller amount by which, that they reduce the glut. So probably a lot of that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook. But suffice it to say, it's been interesting to study to kind of see how the market works, and I'm already kind of ruminating to see, is there something I can do to, kind of capitalize on that. And like I say, it's a pretty good model, really. You know, Even trying to capitalize on it's going to be difficult. The main lesson I take from it in terms of capitalizing on it is don't grow the same crop twice, and when you haul it to market, you gotta book. I mean, you gotta get it up there. There can't be no dilly-dallying around. And I've been just hauling it in my little tractor, and you can have the same prices. They'll be stable for an hour, but the moment you start dropping it in the sell point, you're building up the glut of the market, and each succeeding hour the price is going to do nothing but basically go down as you build up an oversupply in the market. And it just doesn't take much to build up an oversupply. May not seem entirely fair, but that's kind of just how they have the marketing arranged in here. Of course, if I wanted to, I could write a Lewis script and kind of just write it out of existence, and I could keep a static crop. They got another fluctuator built in there too, but the heavy one is the impact of the market. If you sell too much, if I modified it, and it's tough to modify these things to have it simulate some modicum of reality. Admittedly, the one that they have isn't reality, but it'd be tough to improve on it a lot. But I think if I tried to add something at all, it would be to allow maybe a certain amount of crop to be sold before you start running into a glut. Well, the moment even that I say that, then it would be anyone's definition as to, well, how much would be allowed, And when you only have a couple fields, it's maybe it'd need to be a smaller amount. But what if you own the entire map? Do you gotta penalize yourself the same as when you're a small farmer, or do you just peg it to a single amount and forget about it? So again, that probably all sounds like gobbledygook. It comes from studying those formulas that they have in there, to kind of see how it works. So in some ways, even in saying all this, I'm half tempted to remove a few mods. For example, I have some fruit tree mods in here, although I know in the previous episode I said I wanted to plant a few, give it a try, kind of diversify a little bit, and that's probably ultimately what I'm going to do. But if I wanted to have a bigger pricing impact on some of the commodities, by removing mods, I reduce the number that are there, which boosts, a percentage that I know the code is calculating, and it's going to make the prices of those other remaining commodities more attractive. But whatever. And well, yeah, now I'm just talking gimmickry. You remove the mods, let the prices fluctuate, change to go upward, and put them back in, and it's going to remember your most recent prices. So, but I don't know, that almost feels kind of like a cheat. And the good old cow pasture that we sort of commandeered to put a crop into. Oh, and you may notice from last time that our cash is up. Well, kind of. we're just at least not as negative as we were. You know, there was some admin type things I had to take care of that I didn't want to put on tape, as it were, with a lot of driving. So I ended up taking our combine. I got it all the way over to the store, and I turned in the header, you know, which we had under rent. And I finally just opted to just sell the combine as a whole. And I actually picked up $15,000 for it. So that was put immediately towards my debt. So I know our banker appreciated that. They were getting a little nervous, but I've reassured the banker that we have money coming in. He can see all of what we have in inventory, and so there's something bankable there if they ever needed the collateral. But we're not going to give it to them. We're going to sell it, and we're going to make this work. Oh, I just love this tractor. I wish I had enough to keep it. Just looking at the time over there. Did I have a 4-hour lease? Looks like I've already chewed up almost half of it, so I may need to expand the lease, you know, before it's all said and done. Otherwise, we're getting one further field here wrapped up. Just an awesome mod. Let me poop those bales out on the field. I don't know if that's the thing to do here. I've been doing that with each field before I leave it. Boop. More damage. See, that's the good part of renting all the time. But you know, if I'm gonna rent just to avoid damage because I'm not a very good driver, well, then a part of me wonders, why then should I bother having, you know, the damage mod in here anyways? So yeah, at some point maybe I need to, oop, I want to hit the fence again. Up in here. There we go. Oops. Make sure I hit the right keys. There we go. We'll get that laid out and start baling over here. You know, really, it sure doesn't take long. This thing books right along, this unit here, at 15 miles an hour. I still wonder if that's an appropriate speed, but that's what the mod is letting us do. You know, it isn't a modded baler, so maybe it's the baler that dictates how quickly it allows someone to haul along in the fields. Then the fun part to me is going to be picking up all these bales and hauling them to market and watching the cash roll in. And you know, I may just use this same tractor because I want to have plenty of punch to climb the hill. That's the other thing. It's so doggone hilly in here. You know, like I was commenting a little bit ago, when you sell something here at Farming Sim, you really want to get on the stick and get it sold, you know, because the price is only going to go down with each succeeding hour as you add more weight into the market that, you know, creates a price glut or whatever you want to call it. So, but because of the hills in here, you know, I mean, everybody has seen me play this now for a while. It goes putt-putt up the hill, you know, it just slows way down because it's so miserable steep. And so that's going to hinder your ability to, you know, get, oh my goodness, just what I wanted to do, park a bale right over the top of the windrow. That's going to hinder your ability to be quick, you know, taking it to market. So I did the past couple times, I would rent a little bit larger truck to haul up in there. now I'm wondering if it'd be worth it to haul one of the biggest trucks I can get, and maybe a couple of them even, and just try to slam it out as quick as I can and see if I can do it in an hour. Maybe if I figure out, well, I know how many liters I have in storage. Maybe if I figure out how much a truck trailer unit can haul, then I can figure out about how much time it's going to take to get it up there. I think most of it I need to haul just up to, well, all of it, up to pheasant pluckers. And that's where the highest price is going to be. So I just wonder if there's a way I can make my fingers work fast enough with all the key bindings and everything to get 2 trucks or 3 trucks or however many to get it all hauled, just to maximize, whatever revenues I can. And really the idea of doing that, by the way, does have some basis in reality. Maybe not as much anymore, but I have a memory my grandfather told me, from years ago, that there was, every now and again we'll see a great demand pop up in here, and you wonder, well, what causes a great demand? Well, it's never explained. It's kind of a temporary aberration in the market, if you will, that boosts prices. I mean, that's really what's going on. But they don't give the reason behind it. But I remember my grandfather telling me he had some wheat back in the day, and the local cooperative had a special, that they wanted all the wheat they could get. I don't know if they had some shipment they were sending out by train. They needed it full to get the train in there. I don't know. But they were offering a premium, if the farmers could deliver at a certain time. So I remember my grandfather telling me, they literally increased the ground speed of the combines while they were harvesting, and he knew doing that probably meant he was throwing over a little bit of grain out the back of the combine, but he figured the premium he was going to get from the co-op would make it worth it. So the name of the game was speed to deliver it. Now, he happened to be delivering it straight out of the field, but in our case, not wanting the prices to decrease too much on us, we're going to try to deliver it as quickly as we can out of our storage, which I realize is a little bit different than out of the field. But like I say, I think it's a realistic enough principle, even for a good old commodity where a farmer is generally a price taker. We are mowing down fields. Looks like this one here, we did side to side. Yeah, pretty soon we're going to be climbing the hill. It's going to get a little bit more difficult. I'm just struck every time I come in here at how steep this is. This is a powerful tractor, and I appreciate what physics the Giants do have built into this, that shows the struggling and the slowdown. We're at 2 miles an hour to pull this beast of a baler up the hill, and probably what it means is I should have got an even stronger tractor, maybe not tried to save as much money, because these are expensive. The bigger the tractor, the more money it's going to cost. But we will get the job done. Period. End of story. So anyway, I don't know if anybody has any comments on the pricing model, if there's anything I haven't taken into account, or your own thoughts on how the Giants has their market set up in the game. I'd be interested in your thoughts. Let me see here. You know what? That is almost bang on. And this is the same setting we were using over on the other side of the valley. Is that about right? I think it is. My gum. So here we go. Yeah, that's pretty much dead on. Oh, wonderful bale physics there. We can see firsthand. probably should have started at the top of the hill. This will be a little painful turning on all these. That can be relatively flat, going flat. Flat is a relative term, of course, but going across the hill versus up and down it. Oops. Relatively flat. Now we're declining just a little bit here. Anyway, we are making hay while the sun shines and getting the job done. Here I've already taken up almost the whole time period here, just talking about the pricing model. You know, there were a couple things I wanted to share. I mean, as some people know, I just babble in here as I'm exercising my voice, and many random topics come up, and I was thinking of one here the other day, and it basically was this: what are some things you've done in your life only once? And probably the first thing that came to mind for me, because I've repeated it many times to people over the years, is deep sea fishing. I did that once. I was probably in about the 5th grade in grade school, so, I don't know, how old are we in the 5th grade? I was fairly little, so what age is it at? 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, 11, something like that. And I've never really been someone to enjoy fishing per se. That isn't where I get my enjoyment. The funny thing is I have 2 sons who really enjoy fishing. It's probably a terminal disappointment to them that their dad doesn't. Although I'll go out there on the boat to be with them. But let me tell you, there's fishing and then there is deep sea fishing. And I don't know if, when my dad took me on that trip out to the Pacific Ocean, our state here borders the Pacific Ocean. It's a pretty rough ocean, at least along our coast, especially it seemed that way that particular day when we went out. I was okay on the ride out, and as someone who had been on all sorts of rides at the fair, whether roller coaster or whatever, those kinds of things never made me sick. And I didn't get car sick as a general rule. I mean, I could, this was back in the days when they weren't as stringent on having your seatbelt on. So sometimes in the family van, I'd be way in the back, no seatbelt on, lying on the floor, reading comic books or something, if the family was on a long trip. I kind of shuddered, realizing that's what we did back then. We would never do that now. Can't even see. Some things do change for the better, even if a lot of things don't. Seatbelt policy being one of them. But anyway, I never got sick with that, and so I think my parents figured, this shouldn't be any trouble going out there, and I think I took some medicine. I don't know what it was, Dramamine. Is that something that you would take for motion sickness? And I had one of those, I think it's called an ear patch. I haven't a clue what an ear patch does, but I remember Mom putting it, just behind my right ear, whatever it was. And whatever it was, whatever we tried, it did absolutely no good at all. I was okay kind of on the ride out. We went out of, I think it was Depot Bay, out on the coast. After, I kid you not, we went to a restaurant called the Greasy Spoon, and it was exactly as you might think, very greasy, just basic stuff, not very healthy. Went out, we headed out to sea, I don't know how many miles. It was, you could still see land. I mean, we didn't go way out, we're not talking 30 miles, we were maybe, I don't know, 10 miles? It's hard to remember. That was a long time ago at this juncture. Um, but the moment the boat stopped, because we reached whatever grounds, where we were going to do our fishing, um, and we just kind of bobbed like a cork on the waves. We were trolling, basically. We were moving, but I couldn't even hardly tell. What I remember about the ocean swells, and I realize memories can, be foggy, but my recollection tells me is I could stare straight out from the side of the boat and I would see a wall of water. And this wasn't a huge boat we were in. I mean, I don't remember how long it was, just a standard commercial fishing boat or whatever. But the waves were just huge and they just tossed us around all over the place. I I remember the skipper of the boat. He was a cheerful sort of guy. It didn't affect him one bit. And not only my dad went with me, I had a couple uncles there. I don't think either of them were impacted, and I was just miserable. I was green the whole time, and I fed the fish the entire time. And at some point when you toss your cookies and you almost feel better. It's like you get rid of something poison down in there in your guts. And so you feel better for a little while, but it just would start up again. And for me, the worst part basically came when I had no more breakfast to throw up. There was nothing there. And so then you just had the dry heaves, which was even worse. And so from a little kid, up till now, I have never been back out on the sea, and I refuse to do it. It's kind of like I've told people, I said, there are some mistakes you only make once in life. Most of us, we make mistakes, and we make the same ones over and over many times. Maybe we've got some weakness or whatever, but brother, this one here is, I don't think I'll ever go back out. And I realize I'm kind of hedging on that. I have wondered as I've gotten older, does the size of the boat make a difference? If someday my wife wanted to go on a cruise ship or something, maybe that would work. Maybe being in a much larger boat, it would ride better on the waves. I don't know. But that's kind of an example of what I mean of one thing or something in my life that I've only done once. And I wrote down several items actually. I got a little page here in my word processor, but I already heard the bell go off, so don't really have any time to mention any others. But I'd be curious for you if there's anything you have only done once in life, and whether it was positive or negative, you already know it's never going to happen again. As a once-in-a-lifetime trip or once-in-a-lifetime thing, or it was so unpleasant, you are never in your right mind, going to do it again. And I would just be curious to know what some of your stories are. I mean, I'm just kind of sitting here talking at random about things that impact me, but I'm always interested to hear the impact to others. But in the meantime, thank you so much for coming along here as I just sit here and bale straw after straw after straw and get these all into bales. We're obviously creating a whole bunch of physics problems by all these 3D objects we're leaving in the fields, but that's all right. We'll get them all picked up here soon enough. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.